At the top of the hour, we are getting you a special report from Bangladesh.
मैंने बोला मेरे पास तो वीज़ा नहीं है, मैं इंडिया जाना चाहता हूँ।
Right now, I'm standing in Bangladesh.
This is one of the vulnerable districts as far as infiltration from Bangladesh into India is concerned.
ये आके फिर कहाँ जाना था?
कोलकाता।
इधर से वो आगरतला है ना, आगरतला से गया था।
India's borders with Bangladesh are extremely porous, and that's not a secret. But since the turmoil in the country, the fear of influx of immigrants has grown to a large extent. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Home Minister Mr. Anvit Srivastava in the recent past have raised the issue of this rampant infiltration causing demographic changes in the state of Jharkhand. Bangladesh Foreign Ministry launched a strong protest against that, but can they deny the reality on the ground? CNN-News18, in its special investigation, found out that infiltration from Bangladesh is unchecked and the border security force has its hands full tackling the menace. My colleague Anvit Srivastava travelled through the border for a reality check, and for the first time on national television, we bring you the biggest proof of border exodus. Watch this eye-opening investigation.
আমরা অনেক গরিব মানুষ, তাই আসছি কাজের জন্য। আমাদের ওখানে কাজ নেই, তাই এখানে কাজ করতে আসছি।
अभी कैसा हालत है बांग्लादेश में जहाँ आपका गाँव है?
অনেক খারাপ, কোনো কাজ টাজ নেই, সব ভেঙে ঠেঙে ফেলছে, কাজ মাজ নাই, সবার বাড়ি ঘর ভাঙছে, বোম মারছে, গুলি করছে।
मैंने बोला मेरे पास तो वीज़ा नहीं है, मैं इंडिया जाना चाहता हूँ। मेरा बेटी और बीवी जा रहे, तो बोला मैं तुमको भेज दूंगा, 15,000 बांग्लादेशी टाका देना पड़ेगा। अभी जिंदा रहने के लिए किधर जाएगा, और बांग्लादेश में रहेगा तो पकड़ लेगा वो सभी लोग, इसीलिए इंडिया चला रहे।
These testimonies, never heard before on television, epitomize the desperation of Bangladeshis to cross over into India. Since Sheikh Hasina's exit on August 5, the political turmoil in our neighbor country has raised fears of a mass exodus into India. Many rushed to the borders hoping for safety and a better livelihood.
यहाँ पे आप कैसे आई, किसको आपने संपर्क किया, कौन आपको यहाँ पर लेकर आया, कितना पैसा दिया, पूरा बताएंगे एक बार कैसे है?
দালালের মাধ্যমে আসছে, দালাল নিয়ে আসছে নদী পার করে, সাঁতরায় আসছে, ওখান থেকে সাঁতরায় বেলিতি করে নিয়ে আসছে, কলা গাছের ভেলাই করে ডুবে নিয়ে এসে এখান থেকে এসে এপারে যখন আসছি তখন বিএসএফে ধরছে, ধরে তারপরে এখানে নিয়ে আসছে। দালালের নামটা আমি কিছু জানি না।
और उसको कितना पैसा दिया जो लेकर आया?
10,000।
10,000। तो कहाँ जाने का प्लान था? इंडिया आके या फिर कहाँ जाना था आपको, किस शहर में जाना था?
कोलकाता।
कोलकाता जाना था। और यहाँ पे क्या वहाँ से ज़्यादा पैसा मिल जाता है या ज़्यादा काम मिल जाता है, या अभी जो हालात हैं वहाँ पे ठीक नहीं है, क्या वजह रही आपके जाने की?
এখানে এসে কাজ করব, ওখানের অবস্থা অনেক খারাপ, তার জন্য।
कैसे, मतलब नदी से आए आप लोग?
হ্যাঁ।
तो कैसे, आपको तैरना आता है?
না
नहीं। तो कैसे लेकर आया फिर आपको?
কলা গাছের ভেলাই করে। একজন ছিল, একটা ছেলে ছিল, আমি চিনি না তাকে।
तो उसी को केले का जो
হ্যাঁ, ও টানতে নিয়ে আসছে।
उसको पकड़ के ऐसे पानी में लेकर आया?
हाँ।
वो जो एजेंट था जो टाउट आपको लेकर आया, जिसने 10,000 रुपये मांगे आपसे, वो आपको कहाँ मिला था?
ইমো
पे। तो इमो पे कैसे संपर्क हुआ, कैसे बातचीत हुई?
মোবাইলে কথা হইছে।
मोबाइल से। तो उसने आपको मैसेज किया था या आपने उससे कांटेक्ट किया?
আইডি মিলেছে, তখন কথা বলেছে এখানে অনেক ভালো কাজ আছে, এখানে আসলে কাজ দেবো, বাসা বাড়ি আছে, তারপর আসলে তাই আমি বললাম আমাদের এখানে তো অনেক খারাপ অবস্থা, খেতে পেতে পাচ্ছি না। তখন বললো ঠিক আছে, তাহলে এখানে আসো, এখানে অনেক ভালো অবস্থা, এখানে কাজ বাজ করে খেতে পারবা, তাই এসছে। এখনো টাকা পয়সা কিছু দিই নাই।
तो अभी तो जैसे अभी पकड़े गए, तो अब क्या लग रहा है, अब क्या होगा आगे?
জানি না, আমি জেলে দিয়ে দিবে। জানি না।
जब आप बांग्लादेश से इंडिया आ रहे थे तो कहाँ से आपका सफ़र शुरू हुआ?
मैं इधर वो बेनापोल बॉर्डर में आया था। उधर से मेरा बीवी और बेटी दोनों पासपोर्ट दे के वीज़ा लेके इंडिया में आया। उधर वो जो दुकान था ना, उधर से मैंने बोला मेरे पास तो वीज़ा नहीं है, मैं इंडिया जाना चाहता हूँ, मेरा बेटी और बीवी जा रहे। तो बोला मैं तुमको भेज दूंगा, 15,000 बांग्लादेशी टाका देना पड़ेगा। वो जो दुकानदार है,
दुकानदार है?
हाँ दुकानदार, वो जो पासपोर्ट का काम करता है, दलाल।
अच्छा।
दलाल वो दलाल का नंबर दिया, फिर वो आया उधर, आके मेरे को उधर से ऑटो में बैठा के इधर, मैं इधर पहचानती नहीं हूँ इधर का कौन सा बॉर्डर है।
तो दलाल वहीं मिला आपको?
हाँ दलाल वही मिला मेरे बेनापोल बॉर्डर में।
बेनापोल बॉर्डर पे?
हाँ
अच्छा, फिर वो आपको लेकर आया?
लेके आए ऑटो में, इधर लेके आया 1 बजे, फिर उधर बैठा रहा शाम तक, फिर मेरे को बोला इधर से वो पार करके जाना है नदी।
तो जिसको तैरना नहीं आता उसको कैसे लाया?
उसको थोड़ा पॉट है ना, ऑयल का पॉट, वो पॉट इधर बैठा के फिर लेके आया।
अच्छा।
हाँ
तो कितने लोग आए थे?
14-15 होगा। मैंने
औरत था, कितना आदमी था?
औरत तो दो ही देखा, एक ही पकड़ गया और एक था।
बच्चे भी थे?
नहीं बच्चे नहीं था।
बांग्लादेश गए कैसे थे?
गए थे इधर से, वो आगरतला है ना, आगरतला से गए थे।
तो उस समय वीज़ा लिया था?
नहीं वो तो उस समय में वीज़ा मेरे, हाँ वो भी ऐसे ही गए थे दलाल के थ्रू।
उस समय त्रिपुरा से?
त्रिपुरा से गए थे।
तो त्रिपुरा से दलाल कितना पैसा लिया था?
वो टाइम पे इंडियन 15,000 लिया था वो टाइम पे भी। हाँ हाँ
तो अभी आप लोग जैसे 15 लोग एक साथ आए,
हाँ
तो अभी क्या बहुत सारा लोग आ रहा है बांग्लादेश से इधर?
हाँ बहुत सारे लोग आ रहे हैं, क्योंकि बांग्लादेश में बहुत सारा प्रॉब्लम चल रही है अभी।
अच्छा अच्छा।
अभी उधर वो गवर्नमेंट उधर चेंज हो गया, इसीलिए उधर जो हिंदू लोग, हाँ उधर जो हिंदू लोग हैं ना, वो लोगों को थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है। और जो पॉलिटिशियन है, जो पॉलिटिक्स कर रहे हैं, उन लोगों को भी प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है। इसीलिए सभी लोग अभी जिंदा रहने के लिए किधर जाएगा, बांग्लादेश में रहेगा तो पकड़ लेगा वो सभी लोग, इसीलिए इंडिया चला रहे हैं।
There seems to be a rise since August this year, but Bangladeshis illegally crossing into India is not a new phenomena. Ever wondered why many house helps, drivers, laborers often speak in a tongue that sounds more Bangladeshi than Bengali?
আমরা অনেক গরিব মানুষ, তাই আসছি কাজের জন্য। আমাদের ওখানে কাজ নেই, তাই এখানে কাজ করতে আসছি।
तो कहाँ जाने का था आपको? इंडिया आके क्या काम करना है और कहाँ जाना है?
झाड़ू पोछा करना है।
They claim to be from villages in Bengal, but the areas they identify with are all close to stretches vulnerable to human trafficking and infiltration along the Indo-Bangladesh border. So how is India fighting this menace? Chief of the anti-terror squad of one of India's largest states, Uttar Pradesh, reveals how they combat the influx of Bangladeshi immigrants.
You see, illegal migrancy has been a problem. Now we are witnessing a spurt in such incidents. That is an area of concern. It is a very well established network that operates across our borders. They just come over to India through some established routes, and then they establish themselves as bona fide citizens, get all the documents, and then we are stuck up with people whose antecedents are a little dubious. We can't discount their being involved in anti-national activities. More disturbing element is that some people, they have managed to compromise the security of our national portals, website portals, and then they are using them to sort of generate bona fide certificates of on absolutely fictitious or erroneous data.
What are the borders that they are coming in from and getting documents made in UP particularly?
You see, the majority of the cases that has come to light, they have used the Assam Bangladesh border and the West Bengal Bangladesh border, but we can't discount people coming in from the western borders also.
And my colleague Anvit Srivastava, who has brought us this special investigative report, is joining us on the broadcast. Anvit, we have had the Home Minister in the past speak about the unrest in Bangladesh and how this might lead to a Myanmar-like influx here in India, especially the northeast, because here we are talking about more than 4,000 kilometers of border that we have with Bangladesh, and there are several states that are specifically involved. Now, you have ventured into the territories of Bihar, which are bordering Bangladesh. The kind of stories and the kind of voices that you have managed to get for us, when we talk about these demographic changes, are they only about a certain religion that we are looking at? Because here we also know about how Hindu migrants are planning to get into India because they in fact fear persecution there in Bangladesh, especially after Sheikh Hasina's exit.
Yeah, certainly. See, there has been an exodus since August 5, since the turmoil took place in Bangladesh, and we went there to particularly look into the story of infiltration into India, the exodus that has been happening, and the people who have been trying to cross over into India illegally. Regardless of the community they belong to, regardless of the religion they belong to, but the people who there are many Hindus who have been trying to get into India from Bangladesh. There are many Muslims also, because the condition in the city, the state is not very good. And we managed to track down some of them. And when we spoke to them, we found that there have been active, well-oiled, agents and machinery that has been indulging into this human trafficking, and they've been bringing people on from both sides into each other's of the countries. In fact, there are agents who charge money when these people move from Dhaka or be it any other city, particularly Rohingyas or Bangladeshis for that matter. When they move upwards in Bangladesh and they come closer to the Indian territory, either they come into from Bangladesh or West Bengal, or they come from the state of Tripura. So this is the trend that has been seen, and there are agents active on both sides. These people are put in shelter homes there for a long time, and then they are segregated based on their dialect, based on their looks and their ability to merge into the people living in India and the country they are to be sent to. Most of them, when come into India, they fly to third countries, but a majority of them stay here. And when we spoke to some of the experts, we met a number of academicians, demographic scientists, economists, just trying to understand what impact could this have on a country like India.
Yes.
They said that, see, when it is a number of 2 lakh people, it might not affect, because India is a big country and it is a growing economy. But if this number grows in the coming future, or as it has been rising continuously, then it can certainly be a problem, because it's not only economical, but it also affects the agriculture, it affects ecological factors and also environment, not just the economic and social economic factors. So there are multiple factors, like you mentioned, demography also. The bordering states particularly, when these people move in, they largely predominantly belong to one particular community. So when they move in, the demography of that particular area changes, and it might not have any effects immediate, but in the long run, the politicians back them for vote banks. Then there are other factors that the demography of that area changes, and the people who have been living there for a long time, they eventually become minorities in their own state. So these have implications, certainly socio-economic, but also on agriculture, economy and other factors as well.
Right. Also, a bit about the BSF game plan over here, Anvit. Is it working in closely with the border guard Bangladesh? They are trying to devise certain, things so that this kind of an influx can really be checked. Because in your report, we also spoke about experts talking about established routes through which these illegal immigrants are coming into India. Has the BSF, for that matter, managed to nab either the people who are involved in bringing in people illegally, or even get a hint of the route that they are taking?
See, there are certain routes on this between Indo-Bangladesh border which are known to be vulnerable for infiltration. It is known to the BSF, it is known to the local police, but to man the border on the ground, it's not easy. We went there, we saw there a large number of piece of land. It's just open border.
Yes.
It's just a ground from where anyone can come in and go back. Yes. BGB is there, border guard Bangladesh is there. On our side is BSF, border security force. They do keep a vigil, but during the night people cross over. There are riverine challenges. There's river, Sonai River, which is a very vulnerable patch, and people cross over. Across the river is Bangladesh, on this side is India, and many smugglers and cattle smugglers and other drug smugglers, they bring smuggled items through that river. The river is highly covered under water hyacinth, so there are challenges, riverine challenges, terrain challenges for BSF. The fencing does not cover the entire border. There are many villages that lie beyond fence, so people have to go there for agriculture and then come back in the evening. So keeping a watch on these people, whether or not they are indulging with Bangladeshis or for that matter criminal gangs active in that area. So it is challenge for local police as well as for the BSF as well. All these challenges need to be met at a central level. There has to be a proper watch on these. There has to be fencing. There has to be acquisition of land so that proper fences can be laid.
Yes.
So unless and until there is a clear segregation like we have on the western border between India and Pakistan, unless that happens, the challenge will really continue for the forces as well.
Absolutely. Anvit, I'd request you to stay on with us as there's more to it as part of your investigation. Now, you heard the testimonies and the problem that the people who are coming into India illegally are causing. But why is it so easy to cross over from Bangladesh into India? Well, there's not one route, but three entry points that are used for illegal infiltration. And my colleague Anvit Srivastava went to all of those entry points and found out how exactly all this works. All of those points are patrolled and many such attempts thwarted, but some still managed to slip through the cracks. Take a look at part 2 of this special investigation.
These immigrants are not restricted to the border states anymore. They have adequate presence in the Indian mainland. So we began to investigate the routes of this infiltration.
This is an integrated check post where I'm standing right now between Bangladesh and India, and you can see across the gate lies Bangladesh. Even as the movement of people at this border is legal, there are several points and check passes that are vulnerable to illegal infiltration into India from Bangladesh.
As we switched several modes of transport to reach remote areas of West Bengal, we identified the vulnerable patches and the challenges faced by the BSF. We reached Amodia village in Hakimpur. To our surprise, there are many patches that remain isolated and obstacle-less, providing an unhindered passage.
Right now I'm standing in Bangladesh, but as I take a step forward, I enter India. Amodia village, one of the last villages on the Indo-Bangladesh border. And behind me you can see an open border. It's a field from where anyone can walk in if the BSF is not at job keeping a continuous 24 hours vigil.
Mapping the route taken by the infiltrators, officials told us that the journey for Rohingyas begins from Rakhine as they walk along the Naf river and enter Bangladesh to reach Cox's Bazar with the help of brokers and agents. Then they move upwards, close to the Indian border towards Tripura, West Bengal and Sikkim. At these borders, they are kept in shelter homes and filtered as per their dialect, looks, complexion, languages known and skill. Their onward journey is based on where they can blend in. Then comes the task of procuring fake IDs. While some, based on these forged IDs, prepare passports to fly out to a third country, others stay here and get their bank accounts, voter IDs and even ration cards to avail services like any other Indian citizen.
I'm not allowed to disclose the location we are reporting right now from, but let me tell you that we are only 200 meters away from the international border. And this board here on this fence testifies to this fact. This fence has been erected in order to prevent infiltration bids and smuggling attempts from Bangladesh into India. But as you can see, this fence ends midway. Now this is one of the major challenges that BSF faces on daily basis because these areas of international boundary have not completely been fenced, making these points more vulnerable in view of infiltration.
Open fields, unfenced boundaries and the terrain poses a great challenge when it comes to patrolling and tightening surveillance.
We are patrolling the Sonai river with a team of border security force officials. On my left is India and on my right you can see on your screens is Bangladesh. Now both Border Security Force and BGB, the border guards Bangladesh on the other side, maintain a tight vigil on this river. Why? Because this is one of the vulnerable districts as far as infiltration from Bangladesh into India is concerned. This river is 8 kilometers of a stretch that is continuously to be patrolled, and you can see Border Security Force guards that are there keep a continuous vigil. Officials tell us that most of the infiltrators and smugglers use these water hyacinth and hide items to be smuggled beneath this, and then later on in the night they are crossed over into India or from India into Bangladesh.
New challenges call for newer measures to combat them. BSF is using locally made self-invented mechanisms.
These boxes you see lined up are actually apiaries hung on this international fence between India and Bangladesh. 200 meters beyond this fence lies Bangladesh, and we have been told that since these apiaries have been installed on this fence, intrusion activities and smuggling of cattle has gone down to zero. Now this initiative has solely been taken up by the Border Security Force with the help of local villagers, and not only this gives villagers financial independence but also provides BSF with a mechanism to prevent intrusion and infiltration. Well, like they say, necessity gives birth to such innovative inventions. At the end of our coverage, after having travelled thousands of kilometers and visiting a number of villages between the Indo-Bangladesh border, we are convinced that as we speak right now, the exodus of Bangladeshis into India must be continuing. We patrolled a number of water bodies between the two countries, visited and patrolled forward centric areas, and spoke to several residents of this region, both Bangladeshis and India, and we have found that this problem is more political and diplomatic than a security issue. But only in time to come we will see if India comes up with any policy when we are ready to call these people and address them as refugees. With video journalist Vikas Rawat, this is Anvit Srivastava from West Bengal for CNN-News18.
And my colleague Anvit continues to be with us on the broadcast. Anvit, as part of your report, the use of apiaries to, in fact, stop any kind of a illegal border influx is a very, very interesting development, innovative invention, like you rightly mentioned. But what does the BSF do when it is about international territory, international border, a large chunk of that area being unfenced? How do they cope with that situation?
The central government has been working on it, and but we were told that the BSF also raises these questions time to time, these concerns when meeting of the BSF or the central security meetings happen in New Delhi, and these measures have been raised. But see, the problem actually is that these are remote villages, and to acquire land and then to raise fence is certainly a challenge. What we have seen previously on the western front. Eastern front also government is working, but the BSF said that they have been highlighting these issues, and they are hopeful that in time to come there will be clear demarcations on the eastern borders as well, because they lie highly vulnerable these times, and also because the people who are the two case studies that we spoke to, they are these people have financial vulnerability, and that is the only factor why it is likely that they can be lured, and they are likely to be lured by criminal gangs active in that area, also by terror organizations. We have seen previously names like organizations like Al-Qaeda have surfaced in the media only for using these people, Rohingyas particularly, and Bangladeshis who come from the lower strata, promising them good amount of money and then using them at their behest. So this has been there have been multiple cases in the past. There have been arrests of Bangladeshis and Bangladeshi criminal gangs, not only from the border areas but also from cities like Delhi, Hyderabad, and Mumbai for their involvement in crime. But this certainly does not mean that these people have criminal inclination. There have been certain gangs, they have been using their vulnerability to lure them in for such acts. In fact, I have pulled out a document, it's a Supreme Court order previously that clearly demarcates how these people, what can be contributory factors when it comes to Bangladeshis influx and their use in such illegal activities. The order goes on to say that ethnic, linguistic and religious commonality between these illegal migrants and many people on our side of the border enables them to find shelter and it makes the detection difficult. So this is what we have earlier also pointed out, that when they cross over, it is hardly to be detected because first they are put into shelter homes and then they are said accordingly to what state they have to go to. Then some political parties have been encouraging them, even helping these with a view to build vote banks like I previously mentioned.
Yes.
And it goes on to say that these immigrants are hardworking and prepared to work as cheap labor, which makes them acceptable in cities like New Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad and bigger cities where people are looking for cheap labor. Moreover, with corruption being all pervasive, corrupt officials bribe to provide help to these people. In fact, in the consequences, the Supreme Court order goes on to mention that as a result of population movement from Bangladesh, people of neighboring states will be reduced to a minority in their home states and their cultural survival will be in jeopardy. It further goes on to say that the influx of these illegal migrants is turning these into a majority of a particular community. So these are certain factors that are being looked into, and in fact the rapid growth of international Islamic fundamentalism may provide for driving force for this demand, that eventually when a lot of like say West Bengal or any bordering state, if we are talking about Bangladesh,
Yes.
a lot of Bangladeshis come and stay into it and the state eventually over time to come becomes a majority state for Bangladeshi, then eventually there is a possibility that there could be a demand hypothetically to merge that state with Bangladesh, and that is not something that the Union of India would want to look forward to. So all the efforts are being made from the security forces on ground and also by the central government, we believe. So this is the current situation. We spoke to people, they are financially vulnerable. There are many people working on ground. We also met some human rights organizations
Yes.
who said that yes, there is a problem, but the problem is also because India is not a signatory to the UN Convention,
Yes.
and that also India does not identify these people as refugees and does not want to give them a status of refugees.
Yes.
So will there be a policy that helps them be accepted by India and be called as refugees? We'll only see in time to come.